you're new to bourbon or you're someone who's been in bourbon a while and you get asked, what are those 5 bourbons that I should use to start my at-home bar? Big question, loaded question, million different options out there. I'm going to go into a couple different categories on these top 5 and then also which 5 specifically I would recommend for my home bar if I was starting a new one. Let's go! How are y'all doing today? My name's Chris. Welcome back to Bourbon Sane. The only 5 bourbons you need to start an at-home bar. This is a question that circulates on the internet all the time. And everyone has their own opinions, their own thoughts on this, and their own ideas as to what categories and what specific bottles they would recommend if they got asked this question. I figured this would be a fun video for me. I've got about, when I was going through my list here to find just 5 I wanted to limit it to, I got about 20 that really could fit these categories and what I would recommend for these whiskeys. So this is just going to be my opinions. I understand opinions are going to differ, but if it was me starting over, if I could talk to myself 10 years ago, whatever it was now, and say, hey, you want to start a new whiskey bar? Go with these whiskeys. Save yourself the money on all the wasted stuff. You don't want to be trying bad stuff. Get these good ones instead. But I did limit this to just 5 today. So as I mentioned, there's so many different options out there. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. If you could have 5 options, and let me know the specific categories when we go through them too. Break down those categories of each one you would add to that category specifically. So not wasting any more time. Let's get into number 5 today. Okay, coming in at number 5 today, and this isn't in any specific order of these. This is just where they fell in my lineup. But we are going to start out with a budget bourbon with a little age that you can use as your daily sipper. And for me, that's Knob Creek 9. The beauty of this bottle still has a 9-year age statement, and of course, if you're starting a new bourbon bar, you probably aren't super used to that high proof yet. For those of us that have been in it now for even when you're up, 6 months out from when you started, you want something a little more proof, a little more flavor. This is up to 100 proof. Jim Beam's mash bill, Knob Creek, 9-year age statement. I always get a delicious, like chocolate roasted peanut, very creamy for this, and that age does really come through on this bottle. The biggest argument I saw in other videos where I've done similar things to this or recommended these type of bottles is, if you're talking like a budget starter bottle, your daily sipper, for someone new, let's go like 80 proof or even 90 proof. And I'm going to put some of that stuff on this list too, at least maybe not quite 80 proof, but some of the 90 proof stuff. But at 100 proof, especially when we first start into whiskey, we want to add ice to our whiskey. At least I did. You know, I was like, oh, it's a little bit strong for me. Let me put a rock in there, you know, a rock or two. And when you do that, at 100 proof, I think that's the perfect proof to where you still get enough flavor coming through in your whiskey. It doesn't just taste like watered down crap, honestly. So I think this is really that perfect balance of the sweetness, the oak, the age, and the price. I mean, this is a sub $40 bottle in every market. A little bit pricier than it used to be here. It's 36-ish now. I remember when these used to be 25, 25 to 30. So, but for me, still worth the money at 35, and we're talking a budget daily sipper. Hard to go wrong with this one. Coming in at number 4 today in our category is a good cocktail bourbon. Now I say bourbon because most cocktails typically you're going to want to go with a rye whiskey, but we're talking about a bourbon list today. So what I decided to go with is a high-rye mash bill bourbon, Old Grandad. Now this specifically is the bonded, which is 100 proof, of course. I could have put the 114 on this list because that's really my go-to ultimate cocktail bourbon because that proof is amped up and I can taste that more for what comes through. But we're talking more entry level, as mentioned. I don't want to go super high proof with every one of my choices. This is going to be for people just kind of starting out or recommending to newer whiskey drinkers. But this, given the high-rye mash bill, again coming from Jim Beam, it gives you just enough spice in your cocktails. It lets you taste the whiskey that's in there. And honestly, all the flavors that come through on this, I have no problem drinking this bottle neat either. I put it in some blinds. Usually fares better than some of the other stuff that are around the 100 proof, same age, about that 4 years too. So really, any of the Old Grandad line, hard to go wrong with. I don't typically go to the entry-level stuff anymore just because of proof. You know, I appreciate the high-proof stuff a little bit more now, but the 114, the Old Grandad 100, they're always staples on my bar. And if anyone's wanting a cocktail bourbon, this is a great place to start. Coming in at number 3 today, and this is a category I left off a few of my other lists, and I got some serious for it. So I figured I better include it. And that's going to be a good wheated bourbon. Now, there are so many wheated bourbons out there, right? We got Maker's Mark, the entire line, Larceny, the old Fit 7 now, Rebel, Bardstown wheated, one of my favorites. But this one, for me, has jumped all of them. Green River wheated. Now, this is not the full proof version. This is just their base 90 proof. I mentioned we get back some of the lower proof, 90 proof stuff. But this, to me, is really the perfect balance of sweetness, creaminess, and almost like a Werther's caramel in your mouth. It's really good. Green River, company owned by Bardstown. And honestly, that, as I mentioned, that Bardstown wheated is one of my favorites as well at the price point. This is a $39 bottle. And I've never been a big Maker's Mark fan. I know there's a lot of Maker's Mark fans out there. Their flavor profiles just never really agreed with me, so not really on my radar. I would say Rebel is probably my number 2 favorite wheated. Honestly, the Rebel 100 or the store picks, of course, cast strength picks. But Larceny was always up there too. I think Larceny, their entry level, just standard 92 off the shelf, is good, but it kind of gives me a funky, like, bready note that I don't really enjoy, honestly, in that mash bill. That being said, the Larceny store picks I've had, though, I've had some really good ones, and they've been very different, too, as far as flavor goes. So I think that is one of the types of picks out there. You can get a big differentiation in flavor profile. But talking about the Green River wheated, you got to have a wheated bourbon on your bar. It's something super approachable, super sweet, super easy sipping for people that come over and want to try something new. And it's different than just your standard bourbon mash bill. You know, you got that wheated in there. It usually mellows off those rough edges. And Green River, up and coming if not arrived yet, this is one you got to pick up. Moving on to number 2 today, and this category is going to be a single barrel expression. For me, specifically a store pick is what I would recommend for here. And there's for multiple reasons I would do that. My choice, of course, Russell's Reserve Single Barrel. I know we're getting up to the high proof again, 110. Substitute this for something else if you want. You know, get a Woodford Reserve Double Oak pick. That is a great entry-level, start-your-bar bottle. About the same price point as this Russell's Reserve Single Barrel is, you know. This, to me, though, Wild Turkey's mash bill, their flavor profile, it always agrees with me. My favorite distillery is Wild Turkey and has been for years. And these single barrels have the biggest variety in store picks out there. They really do. As mentioned, reasons this should be on your bar. If someone comes over and they see your 5 bourbons and you go into it and they see a single barrel, they may ask what that is to begin with. You know, single bottles are filled only from that barrel versus just a small batch, multiple barrels blended together. And then you can go into the whole conversation about store picks and how stores select certain barrels, you know, things they think are better than just the standard stuff. And that really gets the ball rolling, starting conversations, growing those relationships in bourbon, which that's one of the things I love about it. You know, the community's awesome in bourbon in general. You don't find many a-holes in the bourbon community. Some, but not many compared to some other industries, if you will. So, substitute your favorite single barrel here. This one's mine. I want to hear what's your guys' favorite single barrel. If you had to pick one, now there's a million different store picks and single barrels on the market, but for me, this is going to take the cake almost every time. All right, before we get into our number 1 choice today, do me a favor and like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and let me know what is that one bourbon that you would recommend to start your bar with. For me, moving on to the number 1, it's going to be something barrel proof. Any guesses what this barrel proof might be? Rare breed. Come on, I had to stay in the Wild Turkey wheelhouse. Multiple reasons I would choose this bottle, and multiple reasons this category needs to be included on your bar. After about 2 to 6 months, you're going to want proof. Most of us are going to want proof. And not to say for everyone. Everyone's different. But you're going to be looking at the bottles you have, and you're like, man, I should have bought something a little bit higher proof. At least I did. Because I wanted more of that flavor. This thing, small batch, blend of older whiskey, 8, 10, and 12 year, at least historically has been, and it gives you every flavor you want in the book. I mean, nice cinnamon, sugar, creaminess, and sweet oak come through in this bottle because of the blend of the older stuff, honestly. So, not only that, the best thing about this bottle is the price. I mean, these are cheaper than what we just talked about last category, the Russell's Reserve Single Barrel Picks. Yes, it's not a store pick, but it is a barrel proof option and probably most of the time older overall in the blend for what you're getting than in those single barrels. Also with this, I drink this neat all the time. Of course, you can add ice to it and you get even more flavor when you add the ice for those compared to the lower proof stuff at least. You know, the higher proof stuff will retain more of that flavor in there when you add ice or water to it. So it's very hard to go wrong with this bottle. $50 in some markets. I've heard even less when people have wrote comments on my videos. That's insane. That's insane. I'm glad Wild Turkey's been able to keep the price of this bottle down. It's always on my bar. I usually have at least 2 on my bar. And you want barrel proof? This is going to give you what you want. Alright, well, just 5 of my favorites and 5 I would recommend to start my bar with. As mentioned, I want to hear from you guys. Please let me know, what are the 5 you would start your bar with? What are the 5 you'd recommend to other people to start their bar with, or just to pick up in general? A lot of budget options. All these I went with today were all readily available in almost every market. So you can go out and get all these today if you want to. And honestly, if you haven't had some of these yet, worth the pickup. Appreciate you guys being here today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon. Stay insane.